all, and welcome back to the Arsenal Fan Theory Show. It's been a while. I think it's been 3 weeks where we've been through a few ups and downs, a few losses against Man City and Leicester, a few victories, especially in the Europa League. We beat Rapid Vienna, or not sure how you pronounce it, as well as Dundalk, and a big victory against Manchester United. So we've got a lot in store tonight for you guys, and as always, I'm joined by Mike. Hi, Mike.
What's up, Bren? It's always good to be back. It's just been quite a while. We obviously want to do it a lot more often, but every opportunity we get, we try and do one. So.
Yeah, we're starting to get into the groove of things, having like a fixed set time after each game, sort of. But I think after lockdown, regulations have been eased. We're all just a lot busier overall. I think you changed your job role, not necessarily moved work, so obviously you're a bit more busier. And yeah, so it's been tough, but we'll continue on. We'll continue on the road until we get to a place where hopefully we can do this a bit more full time, or if not, we can. Okay, so Mike, like I said, there were quite a few games. Well, there are quite a few games we can talk about. I think the first game that we played since our last episode on Sheffield United game was Manchester City. To be quite honest, I can't recall too much of the City game. I know it was quite a solid defensive display. We had three good chances. I think Saka had the best chance of the game probably, and he fluffed his lines. And City scored. I don't know what more there's to say. Do you remember anything specific about the City game?
Not really, Bren. Basically, what you just said. I feel we were unlucky to lose the game. We could easily have won it as well. And we actually looked like the better side for large periods of the game. Obviously, if I remember correctly. And I was disappointed to lose the game because I really think it was a good opportunity to show our ambition in the Premier League, that we actually want to start challenging for titles again and finish in the top four, and stop giving away so much points to the top six. But a solid defensive performance. We've just for the past few weeks we've just been struggling with creativity, and even after the United win, still something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, one thing I specifically remember from the City game is, we were defensively sound, but it was also a game of fine margins. I think, what you're seeing from this Arsenal team more and more is that if we win a game, it's not by, we don't batter the teams. When we lose the games, we don't get battered by teams. We compete in every game. We're competitive in every game. It's just now progressing and taking the next step forward, making sure that when we get those chances, we do take them. But, we are in all of the games we play at the moment. Very positive sign, especially looking at the City game. And then we can look at the Leicester game. I think, again, we had an excellent first half. We were in charge. Leicester sat back. They came there wanting to defend the scoreline, just wanting to nip a goal, which they eventually did. But yeah, overall, I think we should take the positive out of it, because we can see that United, City, Leicester all respected us when they played against us. So I think that's positive. But like you mentioned, the negative is that we've struggled to create chances. Did you see any improvement from that in the Leicester game?
Well, not on the creative point of view, no, not really, Brent. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius, or an Arsenal fan even to see that Arteta's improved Arsenal's defense a lot just in the last season. Obviously, a lot of that has to go to probably Gabriel. He's had a great season so far. Holding, when he's been fit for the game, he's been really good. And, Partey just started, but it looks like he's also only going to help in that perspective. Yeah, but now it's just scoring goals, creating chances, because like you said, we do compete in every single game now, which was a problem. We were winning games that we looked like the worst side. When we lost, we you could say we deserved to lose the match. And now it doesn't really matter who we play. I can see us winning the game. It doesn't feel like we can be out of it like it used to be in the past sometimes. But yeah, that's obviously the main thing for me, Bren, is activity.
Yeah, like you said, we don't go into games fearing the opposition anymore. I think, yes, our victory against United this weekend was our first against the Big Six in something like 4 years. Our last one was the 2-0 win against City. And I think it was the first in something like 14 or 16 years against United at Old Trafford. So it was definitely a step in the right direction. But we've beaten Liverpool in the Premier League. We've beaten City, Chelsea in the FA Cup. So I think we've definitely turned the corner. I think teams do come up against us and do fear us now. I think they do set up more defensively. They do, you know, they're not as willing to attack Arsenal anymore because they know we can spring the counter attack and we can hit them on the break. I'm talking about new players. I'm been really impressed with Gabriel, and let's look at just take with the Rapid Vienna game as an example. Partey's first start for Arsenal. I think, from the word go, he looked like the boss of the midfield. I think he absolutely ran that game, even though we took also, I think, until the 65th minute before we actually sparked into life offensively. Partey was definitely a key role in us dominating that game, even though it was against a bit weaker opposition.
Yeah, well, Bren, Gabriel so far is, well, I'm obviously not watching too many of the other teams' games, but Gabriel's been an absolutely outstanding signing. He looks like a defender we've missed for quite a number of seasons. He looks like a replacement for Koscielny, but obviously Koscielny quite a few years back. He's building quite a good partnership with Rob Holding. I think the 4 games they've started together, we've conceded 1 goal. So, obviously, if that can continue throughout the season, he's obviously going to put his hand up for signing up the season. And it's no secret that Partey is a great player. All of the pundits already praise Arsenal for actually managing to sign him, and he's already proven it. Like you said, from the word go. I think I'm jumping a bit forward now to the United match, but I think he and Elneny, not plenty of people would have expected them to boss the midfield against a United diamond to our 2 midfielders. But I think they completely bossed it. They had both of them, Elneny and Thomas Partey, had absolutely great games.
Yeah, I think Elneny was the biggest surprise of the match because he was absolutely immense. In my mind, he was up there with man of the match. I think I looked at the Arsenal voting poll after the game. I think he got something like 27% of the votes as well. So it's quite a few people that actually did rate him as man of the match. But let's quickly just contrast that with the Leicester game. Leicester, we had an excellent first half, similarly to the United game. But I think Leicester had a bit of a different game plan where they wanted to sit back. They wanted to absorb the pressure. They wanted to, give Arsenal the ball. And then in the last 30 minutes, they brought on Jamie Vardy and they started playing. And, the game plan worked to aplomb because they got the result at the end of the day. But the other thing that I also noticed that was a big difference was that with the Leicester game, we had Partey with Tobias and we had Xhaka starting. And Partey he was really he was a spectator in that game. The game really passed him by. There were quite a few instances where, or if you look at the passing stats, I think Partey had something like 50 passes, and I think Xhaka had up to 80 or 90. That means he was our key cog in the midfield. If you look at the United game, Partey was most likely, or he was the key cog in the midfield. He was the one driving us forward. He was the one, creating chances, creating turnovers. So I think there was also a big difference on the way we played against Leicester and the way we played against United and why we were so successful against United.
Yeah, Bren, I also just want to jump in there. Another big difference I noticed, like to most of our games and the United game, uh, Party and Alneni in midfield, not only were they sound offensively, which you want from your midfielders, and they read the game well, intercepted, made good tackles, all of those aspects of the game were what you wanted it. But not only that, they had the ability to have the ball at their feet, run forward, run at players, run past players, and now obviously get the attack kicking from there. Normally, our midfielders, if they got the ball, they would look left, they would look right, they would look left, they would look right before even passing the ball, you know. And I think it's something we've missed for quite a while. Our midfielders actually having the ball at the feet and running past players. I was really impressed with that as well.
And they quickly recycle the ball, like you mentioned. They don't have to look left, look right, look forward, look then eventually pass the ball backwards or sideways. There were quite a few times where Alneni or Party had a quick one touch, put the next player through, or like you said, just drive past the midfield, creating a bit of extra space in that midfield. So yes, I think the partnership was very key. And and then you have to look at Saka and Ceballos. They're probably going to start in the next Europa League game against something like Mold, I think, or
Yeah.
Mold. And they need to step up. I don't see Arteta changing that for the Premier League soon. Especially after a performance like that. How can you drop one of those two players? The only change I would like to see in our Premier League side still is probably Pepe from the right hand side. I don't think Willian was bad. I don't think Willian was good. I think he was average on the night, and I think Pepe is definitely an upgrade on him. He just needs to be a bit more consistent. But if you look at the Dundalk game, Pepe wasn't spectacular, but if you look at that moment of magic he produced for his goal, for instance, that's what you pay the big money for at the end of the day. Yes, he might not be consistent in what he does, but give him enough chances in a match, he'll probably put one in the back of the net like that. And there's probably one or two other players in the Arsenal squad that can replicate something like that.
No, I definitely agree with you, Bren. Because if you have a bad game or a decent game, and you score a goal, you end up winning the game. You've had a good game. Not really much to it. If you can score the important goals, he's doing more than he's doing what we paid so much money for him. And I obviously think Pepe and Aubameyang could obviously really interlink with Lacazette with his older play and add some pace to the attack. Willian had a good first game against Fulham, but ever since then he hasn't really shown much. Yeah, that's I agree with you. The only change I would also make to my Premier League side is probably Pepe for Willian.
And the other surprise inclusion in the Manchester United game was obviously Rob Holding. He was supposed to be out for another 2 weeks, I believe, with his injury. So it was quite good to see him back soon. And I think a lot of people have already written him off. He's exactly the same place where Bellerin is. I think Bellerin, a lot of people wanted to sell him because they didn't feel he was up to the Arsenal standard. But they both came with big injuries a couple of years back. And now with a proper run of games, some confidence, you see these two players coming back to the limelight, thriving, and they might save us a lot of money. Well, we've already spent a lot of money on the backs, but it might save us from spending any more money in the future going forward because we've got players like Saliba still, making their way into the team.
Yeah, well, for now it looks like it's going to be quite a while till Saliba gets to start, Brett. He's not in the Europa League squad, and I don't see him getting too much games in the Prem. And the press conference today, Arteta said he's also fed up with the situation because we wanted to move on Saliba. We had to leave him out of the Europa League squad, and we could have used him. But it's part of the game. Obviously, that's just the short version of what he said. By the sounds of it, I think we'll probably look to on Saliba in January to line. Hopefully, I hope he stays in England, so he can continue adapting to the environment and to the English style of playing football. Obviously, yeah, Robbo was quite a surprise selection, but I quite like him. I think he definitely has a future at the club with centre backs that we have had.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and it does look like Saliba might be going out on loan. I did see a few. I didn't read the full press conference. I didn't watch it, but I did see a few headlines coming out where it's been mentioned that Arteta's touted Saliba for a loan move in Jan. But yeah, let's get back to the games. I'm trying to think back, especially to the Leicester game and to the United game, where the big differences lied. And I think if you look at someone like Lacazette, he missed quite a good chance against Leicester, and against someone like United, he didn't really have a lot of chances. But I feel he had a lot of energy. His link-up play was quite well. Um, you know, I think he created chances with his pressing up high. The only negative with Lacazette in the United game, I think after about 60 minutes, he looked absolutely out on his feet. Sorry, he couldn't run around anymore. He couldn't press anymore. I'm just worried a bit. He's one of my favorite players, but I'm worried that his age is catching up on him. I think maybe he's one of those players that start declining very early on.
Well, he did put in quite the shift against United. He actually, even though being subbed off, he made the second most ball recoveries on the pitch. Well, at least for Arsenal. I'm not sure about the United. But yeah, I'm also a big fan of Lacazette, but I would like us. I think he's sort of playing the Bobby Firmino role for us, but I'd like to see him getting to more goal scoring opportunities. And in recent times, it feels like goals he could have scored, would have scored. He doesn't take the shot anymore. So I'd also like to see him actually be more ambitious to score goals. But yeah, I think he's a very good player. I'd like to keep him. And Nketiah is still learning a lot, still growing a lot, improving. Even though he's already playing quite well for Arsenal and for England under 21s. He still has a lot to improve, and he can learn a lot at Arsenal under Lacazette and Muying and all the and Arteta and Wright probably also does a lot of work with them as well. But yeah.
I think players like Ketia and Martinelli have quite a. No, I think it's nice if they're all playing in the first team, but I don't think you get any better, mentors. I think they couldn't ask for better mentors to work under. I think having players like Lacazette, Aubameyang, even Wrighty, like you mentioned, that's still very involved with the club to just overlook you, give you some pointers, give you some tips. I think if they do take their chances, Nketiah does take his chance. He'll probably be. I don't see him as a world-class goal scorer or striker, but probably one of the best in England. Um, and to be honest, he's honestly for me, he's probably destined for a mid-table club in the short-term future. Probably, starting there. But you never know. Maybe he surprises me. Maybe he steps up and becomes a Arsenal legend. Obviously, I hope so, but I don't see it happening quite soon. Now back to the game. Like I mentioned, another standout performer again was Hector Bellerin in the United game. I think he was up and down the right-hand side. I think he created chances. I think that he's probably one of our most attacking outlets at the moment. Look at the chances he created. I think he had the one for Saka. He had the first chance where he flashed it past Aubameyang. We almost got to the ball. I think also probably can't remember. I think he created one for Lacazette as well, if I'm not mistaken. And it seemed like most of our chances came down that right hand side on this particular game.
Oh, well, Bellerin's obviously proving to have quite the season so far, Bren. But I think if we're going to go to standout performers, we could probably go through the whole team, except maybe for the front three, because our front three haven't been firing the seasons as of yet. But everyone else played really well. And Tierney had another great game. Saka was looking dangerous once again. Another good game. Leonard didn't have too much to do, but his distribution was good, and he was, he's come under criticism for not being a commanding presence in the box. And on this occasion, he was. Alba got the goal, but he had a little bit of a quiet game at say the front three. Yeah, you can definitely say everyone kind of had a standout game. Yeah, I completely agree with you with Bellerin, Bren, and I'm glad he sort of revived his Arsenal career because he's an Arsenal boy, comes from the academy, and they obviously started off at Barcelona, but he loves the club, and uh, uh, as a fan, I'm quite love him too.
I'm also happy to see him, see him actually happy at Arsenal again. I think that he went through a patch. It looked like he was really considering moving on. I think his confidence was a bit on the downward slope. But yeah, I think Arteta's come in and definitely given him back that confidence and given him back that that Arsenal mentality. And he's one of the few players that actually does have that Arsenal mentality because he's been brought up, like you said, at Arsenal. He was with Arsenal when it was still growing pretty well when Wenger was in charge in the early 2010s. And yeah, I hope he keeps on, just improving. I've got a proper attacking right back on our hands if he gets to full form, and I still think we haven't seen his full potential yet. Well, I think what we've expected of him and what he's reached is definitely not. There's definitely still room for improvement. All right, and so it's difficult pointing out any other players. The only other thing I probably can point out is, you know, how ineffective the United team were. I think they had probably only two clear-cut chances, and I wouldn't even call them clear-cuts. I think the Greenwood opportunity where the angle was very tight. But I watched the game again and it was very difficult. I can't see where Arsenal or how Arsenal could have prevented that because there was an excellent through ball from Rashford. And he bent it in behind holding. I think Bellerin was a bit high up the pitch. It was too far out for Leonard to come and claim it. No, and it was a half chance. It was a very tight angle. If Greenwood scored there, it was probably question marks on Leonard because it's a very tight angle, as mentioned. And the other one was probably Matij's weak time right-footed shot from the edge of the box, which was very comfortably saved by Leonard. And so we definitely nullified any threat that United could throw at us and thoroughly deserved to win that game.
No, we definitely were the better team on the day, Bren. And like I said, our performance probably warranted a 2-3 goal victory. But I'm back to creativity as a main problem for Arsenal. But I'm not too worried about that. It takes a few transfer windows for Arteta to truly make this team his, and I do believe that he'll probably sort it out throughout the season as well. Try Saka in different positions, give Pepe a run of games. Nelson's been playing well. So I'm definitely sure it'll come. The goals is going to start coming from somewhere. If it's just Aubameyang carrying the team again, or being a collective effort. But I definitely think we're going to improve on last season. Definitely on the position of the table wise, and hopefully we can add another trophy to that. Let's hope for Europa season so we can get back into the Champions League.
Well, I think that the league is going to be very open, to be quite honest. We've seen teams like Liverpool, City, Chelsea, everyone drop points when they were never expected to drop the points. So I think it's definitely going to be a much more condensed Premier League race. I'm not saying that we're going to be in the title race. I don't think it's close against again the end of the year, but I don't think there's going to be much of a margin. I think maybe 5 to 8 points from the top two. So there's every opportunity I think we can still make the top four still make the Champions League via the top four. But yeah, let's see how it commences. And I think with Arteta, we can just trust the process. There are going to be some ups and downs, but definitely I think we're on the right path. You also mentioned players like Nelson, Bullock. Let's look to the mold game. Do you think there are going to be any change? Well, obviously there are going to be wholesale changes, but who do you expect to see starting? Do you think it's going to be very similar to the last game, or do you think we might see one or two players like Smith Rowe get an opportunity?
Well, I think it's going to be quite similar to the last game, Bren. I think there's going to be a lot of changes, but it's a game we need to win to close out the group stages uh, in the Europa League, so that we can rotate a little bit more in the last three games. Maybe get Mulligan a start, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, to get him get Emmy Smith Rowe back into the team. Uh, give no, not youngsters, but less experienced than the youngsters we already have. Give them a run in the team. But yeah, other than that, I think Sabas might play. I think Louise would probably be back. Lasinac, we might see Mustafi as well. But there's still going to be experience spread out throughout the field, but quite a few changes from the Premier League side.
I hope to see Smith Rowe on the bench at least, or
Hmm.
I would love to see him starting, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we've got too many midfielders, especially now with Xhaka and Ceballos not starting the last Premier League game. I think the midfield positions are going to be filled up with them two and probably Willock. So maybe we could see, but I don't even see him starting in the wings because we'll probably see Nelson and Pepe on the wings again and Ketia up top. So hopefully, like I said, Balango and Smith Rowe coming off the bench, getting some playing time. Yeah, and I can't see anything else than an Arsenal victory. I think we'll probably thrash them again 3-0. Our confidence is high. We've gone on a decent run now. I think if we can continue this momentum into the international break, it would be excellent because we've got Villa up after that as well on the weekend.
Yeah, well, I do expect us to win, obviously, Bren. But I don't think it's going to be an easy game. They've managed to win both of their games as well, and a very physical side, which over the past few years have been, of course, quite a few difficulties for Arsenal. Obviously, this is like a completely different side so far. Well, you can't say completely, but a very different side. But yeah, I expect us to probably win something to 3-0 or 3-1. Yeah, like you said, I also hope to see Bulligan still coming off the bench. I'd like to see a lot of Smith Rowe tomorrow night because I think he's maybe one of the outlets we have to add creativity towards the team because he loves to run with the ball, he can dribble past players and create chances. Yeah, I expect us to go out for the win so that we basically progress through the group stages as early as possible.
Yeah, and I think if we progress, if we get this win and I think one more, I think it will be much more relaxed with the final two remaining Europa League games, and we'll definitely then start to see players that are on the fringe of starting games, like Smith Rowe and Balogun would probably start then if we already secured our place into the next round. And the thing we need to consider is I think there are going to be a lot of good teams dropping out of the Champions League this season, which is going to make the knockout rounds much more difficult. So a good rest before. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we're going to have to use a big portion of our squad because our Europa League games are going to be very competitive, and our Premier League games are obviously always competitive. So yeah, let's see how that one goes. But yeah, I see us winning the next two games, and then Arteta taking his foot off the gas, giving a few more youngsters their chance in the Europa League. And then we've got the big game against Aston Villa in the weekend. I'm not sure if it's home or away, but obviously it's the return of Emi Martinez, which started the season as a house on fire. I think they had 3 or 4 clean sheets, 3 or 4 victories in a row. They were top of the Premier League for a while. And, the wheels have slightly come off in the last few games. I think they've lost 2 or 3 on the trot now. and things aren't as rosy at Villa Park as they were. But I still think they are going to be very tough opponents. If you look at their team, Ollie Watkins, they've got Jack Grealish, they've got Ross Barkley, obviously Martinez. I think what's his name, Billing. They've got Tyron Ming. Sorry, that's right as a defender. I think it's going to be a very difficult task for Arsenal to take the 3 points at the end of the day.
Well, it's definitely a much improved Villa side from last season, Bren. I think last season they did more or less have a relegation team. Just to beat relegation as they did. But I think the transfer business was really good. Obviously, we know as Arsenal fans what a good keeper Martinez is. Ollie Watkins is obviously a goal scorer, a proven goal scorer. Well, at least at championship level. We'll wait and see if he can carry it over through to the Premier League. But he did get a hat trick in Liverpool, so that's good signs for any Villa fan. They also signed Adama Traore. I think he's a very good attacking talent as well. Not Adama, or Bertrand Traore, sorry.
Bertrand Traore, yes.
And as you said, Ross Barkley. So obviously they've got quite a good side. They've also still got John McGinn and, like I said, Tyrone Mings. But they do have a very good team. I do expect them to finish mid-table. I think it would be very delusional, even for Villa fans, if they thought, their high-flying form would last throughout the season. But yeah, they have a very good team, and I don't expect it to be an easy game at all. But I hope we can do. I think we might just edge it like probably 2-1.
Yeah, I also see us. No, I don't see us conceding that much this season. I think we've got the best defense in the league at the moment. I think we've only conceded 7 goals so far. So I'm thinking we might get another clean sheet out of this game. If we don't have any injuries throughout the week or whatever, I don't see a changed team. The only way someone could creep into the team if they have like a blinder on Thursday night, tomorrow night. Hopefully, like something like a Pepe hat-trick could get him back into the starting lineup in the Premier League. But other than that, I think the team is going to remain very similar to the one we saw against United, against Villa. And I'll probably go for a 2-0 to the Arsenal. Just because I think we catching a bit of form and they just lost their form. So I think they're a bit of in a downward curve and we're in an upward curve. So I think it's a good time to play a team like that where the confidence is a bit low. We can get at them, might not be as attacking. I see if we can take our chances, we can take advantage and probably buffer our goal difference a little bit, the 2-0 scoreline.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there, Bren, but it's just so difficult for me to predict Arsenal with a clean sheet, because over recent years those have been quite scarce. So yeah, that's why I go for 2-1. But like I said, I can also easily see us upping that to 3 or 4 goals. Especially if I think as soon as Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang start to play a run of games together, really start to find a rhythm with one another. I think that's also probably another way Arsenal could get goal scoring form back.
Yeah, and let's hope we see a bit of that front three combination. But at the moment, I don't see them starting together. I think Saka's on red hot form, and Willian is Arteta's signing. So I think he'll give him the benefit of the doubt for as long as he possibly can, because at the end of the day, he backed the signing, so he needs to give him a good run before he's going to take him out of the team. Yeah. Other than that, it was a good week to be an Arsenal fan. Especially, I think if you look at Twitter, Arsenal fans are quick to take punishment from United fans, but United fans turn quite sour quite quickly after a result like this. So I think it's been quite enjoyable the last few days, especially just scrolling on Twitter, enjoying all the chaos on the United side, all the United memes.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't seen anything from United fans, and they're normally very busy on social media, and all of my mates that are United fans as well. Yeah, they've been very quiet after the defeat. Um, but yeah, we must just try and do this a little bit more often now, Brett, because it's quite difficult to come back and have to catch up as much as we did. It, yeah, obviously it's easy for me to say, but we need to try and do one after every at least Premier League game.
Yeah, the memory banks run a bit full, so you don't really remember too much about the particular games. So it's difficult to do a proper breakdown and analysis of what exactly happened. Yeah, we'll definitely try and do this at least weekly running up. But yeah, if not, we'll fit it in whenever we can. Just continue going. As always, everyone, thanks for joining, Mike. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you in the next one.